Hi, everybody who's currently at the MMAnytt website. My name is Derek. I think you guys occasionally see me talking to people and writing articles. And since I am currently in Las Vegas with Mazdak Akavian, we were eating a fantastically healthy lunch at Whole Foods because all we've eaten besides that is chicken wings from Hooters. We decided we're going to do a podcast. And he's going to ask questions, and I'm going to ask questions, and then hopefully you guys get a laugh. And the elevator ride up here, some guy was drinking a beer the size of a monkey's femur, his monkey's foot, and we were talking about how long this podcast should be. And this guy's just sitting back there, trying to meet prostitutes in the elevator by himself on a Friday night. And when Mazdak said, well, I don't know, I wouldn't ever listen to a guy talk for more than 20 minutes. I wouldn't even listen to a guy talk for more than 1 minute. I had told Mazdak, well, you have the personality of a dead moth, and I don't. So we'll just bounce off each other and sit in
We
our
could be a
underwear.
good combination.
We are a good combination. We're going to be like Vitor Belfort was yesterday. Yesterday, whenever if you watch his interviews, for the last couple of days, it's strange because they believe that they can win the fight solely if they limit doubt out of their minds. So every time someone would ask him a question like, well, if you win, he'd just stop them right away. Like, there is no if. I believe in Jesus, and there is no if. And they'd say, well, what will you do when? He's like, there is no when. There is only... Well, I guess there is only when. I guess his English isn't that good, but and so the whole day yesterday. So it's
I could start with a question.
Okay.
Why does so many MMA fighters mix religion with MMA, especially if they lose or win?
That's a weird thing that people do. I know you heard me talk about it. It's a strange thing because people can't just accept that it might be their fault, whether it's good or bad. I like to think that God and all of his infinite wisdom has a lot other things to do. I mean, there was an earthquake in Nepal. There's pretty much nonstop fighting in the Middle East. I'd like to think that he's doing other stuff besides watching two men fist fight on a goddamn Saturday night in goddamn Sin City. I could be wrong. But why do they do it? I think it'd be... The only person I've always hated doing that was Evander Holyfield. Because Evander Holyfield would pray to win. I like the people who will pray, like, I hope no one gets hurt. I hope we both, perform to our best.
But I don't get that either. Pray to nobody gets hurt?
Yeah, in a fist fight.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How does that work? You're supposed to punch the other guy in the face.
I think in the future when we're fighting with robots, it'll make more sense, and that's what we're getting.
What was that name of the movie?
With Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
I don't know, robots? I didn't see it. I was going to watch it on the plane ride, but they took it. So I ended up watching Fury and Guardians of the Galaxy and American Sniper. That was my plane ride movies.
Did you like American Sniper?
That was intense, man. Actually, if no one's read the book is not that good. The book isn't good. It's written for, and I give him utmost respect. He's a Navy SEAL. I've met Navy SEALs. They're some of the greatest people you'll ever meet. They're super humble. They're super polite. They're super great, and they never brag about what they do. But that entire book wasn't. There's better books out there. I've read better Navy SEAL books. That entire book was written for like 15-year-olds to read. Because every single line was like, yeah, I did that. It was badass. And then I did this, and that was badass too. Man, you should have been there for that. That was badass. So it's a weird thing that they turned a movie out of a bunch of small snippets of stories that say the word badass over and over again. So why do people thank God? I don't know. I mean, I've written 2 books.
Especially Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, he thanks Jesus all the time. Jesus. I've written 2 books, and in both books, always...
And when he does this with his fingers, is it because of
Oh, yeah.
Jesus?
He's pointing... When a fighter points directly at the sky, make no mistake, they are talking about the lighting in the room and the fixtures and the electricity. I mean, Peter Belfort is from Brazil, man. They live in shacks over there, some favelas. He looks up and sees lights and lasers and all that, and he points. He stops. Do you guys have deer? And
Yeah.
it's like that. If you have your high beams on, your brights, and a deer sees them, they
Yeah,
just
you get
stop.
panicked
Yeah,
and
they stare
stops.
like deer in headlights. I think that's what happens to Peter because he's from Brazil, and they grew up. I was talking once to Carlson Gracie Jr. and I'd said my girlfriend really wants to go to Brazil. What do you think? He's like, I don't know, man. He's like, it's a beautiful country. I said, well, should I go? If I go, should I stay in the favela? He's like, I've stayed in a favela. I'll put you in a favela today if you want. I got friends that live there. He's like, but it's a beautiful country. It's got beautiful people, but it's a little rough, man. I think people need to remember that. He also told me the story when he was stranded, so he had to stay the night, and he was sleeping outside, so he was going to sleep in his truck. But he was worried someone was going to mug him. Even though he's Carlson Gracie Jr., he was worried someone was going to mug him. So he got in his gi, and he tied his black belt, and he took a nap in the back of his truck in his gi with his black belt, so no one would mug him. That's a man right there.
So let's go back with the religious thing. I mean, we Swedish people, we're not used to God left and right. And usually on Saturday nights or Sunday mornings when we watch UFC, we make fun of people that say, thank you, Jesus, this was because of God, blah, blah, blah.
How do you
blah.
make fun of him?
In the comments,
Oh, okay. Like what?
like, here he goes again. What-
That is not exactly making fun of. I mean, me and Mazdak were just walking to the parking lot, and I was considering peeing on people's door handles because they were taking up 2 spots. That's making fun of somebody. Licking a Jolly Rancher. Do you know what licking a Jolly Rancher and spitting it on the hood of someone's car because it's so hot here that it'll melt and you can't get it off without taking the paint with it. That's getting even. That's making fun of somebody.
Nice.
Here he goes again.
I'm teaching myself stuff here in Vegas.
There's a lot to learn. Like, if anyone listening to this ever comes to Las Vegas, there is free alcohol, and I always tell people you have to have at least $20 in a slot machine. So just go up to a bar, and you go to the bar and do it.
No, the slot machines.
No, just go to the bar because the games that are in the bar, because then you're cutting out the time it takes for someone to go get your drink for you. So you just go to the bar, you put $20
now I get it,
in,
yeah.
you slam about 7-8 cold beers, you take your $20 back out, you hand it to the bartender as a thank you, here's your tip, and then you fall directly to the floor and you crawl back to your room like a sophisticated gentleman. That's been my style for a long time.
You give the Swedish tourists a good idea.
Yeah, it works every time. I do it. You have to at least play the game. You have to have $20 in the machine, and you have to at least play. But you always play the poker game because it's not timed. I think it's like a 2-minute thing before it tells you have to push. You play blackjack, you're broken. You put your $20 in, you'll be broken half a minute. But if you play the regular 5-card poker, you can, and if you're by yourself, be a pro. Look like you're really thinking about it. Don't just look at the cards and if someone asks you something, you look at them and be like, well, there's 52 cards in the deck. So let's assume. Really, really sell it. About God, look, I will answer.
Give me a straight answer.
I've written 2 books, and
Good, bad,
and
you don't give a fuck.
Well, I've written 2 books, and in the front of the books it says, "Thank you, God, thank you for this life, thank you for this world," and in the back of the books it says, "Thank you, God, thank you for this world, thank you for this life." I always put God first, and I'd like to.
Let me say like this: do you gotta be religious to understand stuff like that? Because I gotta be honest, I don't understand.
Well, it's a very strange thing, and it does have to be. You don't have to be super religious. I don't think I personally don't think people should be thanking God for
Hurting
the
somebody else.
victory or the defeat. I think they should just be thanking God for, I believe God created the atom, and then the atom is the subatomic particle that has spread into everything else. Everything is made of the atom. And I like to think that we came from that in an evolutionary, big bangy type thing. So I think, it'd be a lot cooler if a fighter went out there and said, "Thank you, Jesus Christ and God, for creating the atom, which eventually divided into me through an extrapolation of cells and organisms." That'd be pretty cool, but long-winded. It's strange when I do it, but I think it's because the average human being has a very hard time standing on their own 2 feet and accepting the good and the bad and the ugly of not only themselves but their own actions, but also of others. It's very easy to push the blame on the ultimate father figure. And so I think if they do thank God, they should just thank you for giving me a life. Because realistically, a lot of fighters, to be a fighter, it's just because you weren't born with a mental handicap. You weren't born, Mazdak is picking his nose, you weren't born, missing a leg or with a Siamese twin or a conjoined twin. So you could thank you for putting me in the position where I could find other people to train with and where I could...
And hurt them.
Yeah, and hurt them. I could find other people to train with, and I was born capable of doing this. Because half the time, it's just luck of the matter. I'm American, and I love this country more than anything. But let's face the fact, I just so happened to be shit out on the ground in the right place. I could have been an Ethiopian. I could have been someone from India. I just so happened to be shit out in the right place. That doesn't make me better than anyone. It just means my mom's got good aim when it comes to shitting out kids. That's it.
So what's wrong with getting born in Ethiopia or India compared to US?
Nothing if you're a marathon runner. How many UFC fighters you see from Ethiopia?
None.
Little people, man. Not exactly known for fighting. Besides, the Ethiopian and Eritrean genocides. Besides that, they're not really known for being fighters.
So let's get back to God. No, I'm joking.
I have a card. You can talk about whatever you want. Yeah.
What do you think of Fight Week?
Fight Week's always... I think it's really cool in a weird way. I think I'm very... let's say... It's very different for me. And it's very different for you. And it's... When I think if the hand of God would have came down... We're back to God. If the hand of God would have came down when I was 18... and trying to get girls to think I was interesting by, growing a goatee, and talking like rappers despite the fact that I'm white. I think if God would have came down,
did?
Probably not. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think it worked well anyway. If the hand of God would have came down and said, "I'll tell you what, for a living, I'll give you $50 a day. Let's say 50. I'll give you $50 a day, and you get to cover these fights that you love so much, and you get to go to these fight week things and watch the weigh-ins, and you get to talk to the fighters, and you get free food. Sometimes there's tacos, and if you're white, you don't say tortilla. Or tortilla. How do that? People say it wrong. It's like tortilla. They call it tortilla. If the hand of God,
we say tortilla.
You're saying it wrong. But I think if the hand of God would have came down to me then and said, "This is going to be what you can do if you sign this contract," I would have grabbed that pen out of God's hand. Give me that pen. I need to do it now, and I would have loved it. But it's weird being me now and coming to Fight Week, and I try to take a step back and see, as people travel from around the world, people travel from around the country, people take days off from work just to go stand in this gym and to get a picture with this fighter, not even talk to, get a picture of him. And I always think that's so strange, but I try to remember, like, some people are from Arkansas
Sweden.
and like Sweden, and this is a big deal for them. And I try to keep that in perspective, and that's why I try to help you do podcasts and take pictures and do whatever I can to help, because to some people it's a big deal. For me, I think it's very strange. I mean, the UFC weigh-ins were today. Those doors opened at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Those people showed up at 1 o'clock on a Friday, like midday too. Took the day off work, brought their kids, showed up at 1 o'clock and just sat there eating nachos and buying $9 beers to see men in their underwear for 20 minutes. That's very strange to me. But, I mean, they sold out. There's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people in that room with us, cheering and drinking beers. And so Fight Week's a weird thing. But I guess...
But explain it for those who think that we are living like gods.
I'm looking at you in your underwear right now, and you have one left ball dangling out the side. I don't... You know... Demigods, maybe.
Because our fans, they're like, you're living the life. I would do anything to be in your shoes, and hire me as your reporter or photographer. I want to come with you guys, blah, blah, blah.
I mean...
And some guys, some fans, they really believe that, I don't know. It's different between being a MMA fan and working in this industry.
Well, yeah, it's way different because right now, and I also covered Boston for you, and I covered Newark for you, and Newark's
Chicago.
In Chicago. No, well, you
Together.
were there for that, yeah. But Newark was great for me because I live in Jersey, so it was just a train ride away. But like Boston, I had to go 4 hours away from my house. I stayed near Harvard in a place I got on Airbnb, and I wanted to see Boston. You know, I couldn't because I go to this event so I can take pictures and I can edit and all that stuff. Well, not edit yet. I go and I take video and pictures. So let's say I go to Media Day. It's an hour and a half of me talking.
Like yesterday.
Yeah, I went to Media Day. It's an hour and a half of me talking with fighters. And then I come back to a room, hotel room or something, and
You have to listen to yourself.
I have to listen to myself, and I have to match the audio, and I have to match the video. So yes, I'm looking at Las Vegas right now. I'm looking at the MGM Grand, but I'm looking at it from the same place I've been looking at it. I haven't been looking at it from underneath the lights and gambling and no, I've been in a room. So it's not like people need to remember it's their job. You know, I see someone work at In-N-Out Burger or something. I'm like, wow, that's cool. But I guarantee when they show up, they're like, no, this isn't that cool. I guarantee if I met a prostitute or a magician, I'd be like, that's awesome. What you're doing, I mean, you're out there every night making...
Prostitutes have fun 24/7.
I don't know, man. You know... It's one of those things. It's one of those things where someone says, "Would you put this up your butt for $1 million?" First, I don't think most people know what it's like to actually see $1 million. I've seen $1 million in person. First, it's not nearly. You think it's going to be like 7 duffel bags? No, it's like a little. You know, you could hold it in one arm pretty much. But people always, I would never do that. I would never do that. I would never do that.
So you put something in your ass?
No, I know gay porn stars who have, but lots of somethings. But everyone says no. I would never do this for $1 million. I'd never do this for $1 million. Prostitutes are so interesting to me because they decided, yeah, I'd do that for $100. Like there isn't like this thing where like I would never do that for $1 million. They instead like, yeah, I'd do that for $60 and this for $80 and that for $100. And if you bring a
Welcome
friend,
to Sin City.
What's that?
Welcome to Sin City.
Yeah, welcome to Sin City. I really want
Where you can buy anyone or anything for money.
It is. It's a weird place. It's a weird place because it's all the worst things in humanity, and it's very like it. You think it's going to be beautiful. That's the image they sell you. They sell you this image of people at the pool, and they're young. They're all Ariane Celeste, and yeah, there's people like that here. But then there's a lot of people who are 248 kilos and change.
Not just that. I drove you 1 block from here. You saw how people
Oh, it was
look
ghetto. Yeah, this place is ghetto. There's not a lot of crime here. The coolest thing here, the best magic trick of Las Vegas is the fact that there's all this money and there's all these people really drunk and there's all this stuff going on. And the entire time that's happening, you look around and think, man, there are no cops anywhere. I could do anything. But then why isn't anybody? There's people with weapons all around you. You just don't really see it. They're there though.
So fight week.
Yeah.
Good or bad?
I think it's good for the average person, but for the person covering it, it's work. It's just like any other job. I guarantee even Elvis Presley, he got sick of goddamn singing Heartbreak Hotel, man. The rest of us were like, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm sure Metallica is sick of playing Enter Sandman. I'm sure that whatever techno music you Europeans just listen to with your wraparound colored sunglasses and your slick back hair, I'm sure DJs eventually are like, I don't want to hear that shit again, because it's their actual job. So Fight Week is great for fans. It's good for me because I guess it's work. It's a different kind of work for me, but it's work, and but it's very strange because it is your job, and you are. It's really strange bothering people to talk to them. So you are picking your nose to be damned, man.
No, my finger got stuck.
For a while. So do you guys don't thank Lord Jesus whenever
No.
you
I'm not religious. I'm
agnostic, atheist? Agnostic is you believe there's something out
No,
there.
I don't believe. Yeah, I know. I don't believe in anything.
Okay, well, that must be difficult. I'm a nihilist. I don't care about anything.
Yeah.
That's like the movie The Big Lebowski. That must be very, very hard for you.
No, I'm.
Well, we're off topic. Do you want to? We'll go back to fights. Do you want to
Yeah.
talk fights?
Let's go back. Yeah, let's go to fights.
Let's actually not go back to. Let's start.
Yeah.
So if you're still here,
should we only do the main card?
Well, we can talk very quickly about the other ones because we did see the weigh-ins and all that.
Yeah, but it's like 14 fights.
There are like 14, so let's go.
Just so you know, I have my finger in my nose again.
Okay, good. Do you want to start with the prelim fights or just main card
Just
fights?
main card.
Just main card fights. We'll do this because we were downstairs and you were asking me who I would bet on, and I base a lot of things on seeing the fighters because I was telling Mazdak while we're eating food, I base a lot of chicken wings again. That's what happens when you stay at the Hooters. I base a lot of my thoughts on who would win based on the weigh-ins. You see these guys weigh in, and if the 2 seconds after they weigh in, they're reaching, they're grabbing, desperately clinging for that bottle of water or that Pedialyte or whatever, I kind of assume that they just had a really bad cut and they're falling apart. And then, you got to factor in, like...
So it's not just a thing? Like,
What?
It's part of the game.
I don't believe in weight
Stand on the
cuts.
scale and then take your water bottle?
No, it's because we talked to someone yesterday. I forgot who. I think it was Donald Cerrone I was talking to, and I asked him his weight, and he was like 10 to 15 pounds up. Anyway, so you can't lose fat weight that quick. You lose water weight. You drop 15 to 20 pounds, and me personally, I can drop 10 pounds just by not drinking any water in 24 hours. If I do acting jobs and I have to be shirtless, I do that because I'm a fatty, and I can drop 10 to 15 pounds. But it is also the worst thing I'll ever do. Like, I will wake up, I'll get a cramp in my leg, I'll get cramps and stuff. When I'm brushing my teeth, I consider drinking that toothpaste water just because I'm so desperate for water. So no, it's definitely not just a thing they're doing. It's actually like a necessity. So, I mean, you've seen Joseph Benavidez up there and John Moraga.
Talking about Joseph Benavidez, his girlfriend
Yeah.
Olivia
Yeah.
was her name, right?
I don't know.
Somebody confronted her, or whatever you call it in English,
I'd say that's
on
about the right word.
Whole Foods, and said that she's said something bad to her, and said that, and took a picture of her and said that he would put it up on Facebook and show his friends what a disgusting person he had met.
Wow. I mean,
And I would like to say to Olivia, welcome to the real world. This is my ordinary day in Sweden.
I don't, I'm neither here nor there on her. I've never really talked to her. I'm always in the same room with her. But the reason I've talked to every other reporter, because eventually you're stuck with them. You have to talk to these people, and we're a traveling circus. I've never talked to her because I didn't care for her the moment I met her. I met her in Newark 5 years ago. Whenever it was the night Jon Jones became champion. I was there with your brother, and Akira was there, Akira Corsani, and he was just getting from he was starting out with the career and everything, and he walked over to her, and I was talking to her, and he says like, oh, would you like me to do interviews? I'm just back here doing interviews for people, and a couple of people interviewed him from the show, and then when he walked away, it was just me and her standing there, and hand to God, hand to Jesus, Cub Scouts honor. She looked at me and she's like, why does he want an interview? I was like, oh, because he did the Tough Enough show, The Ultimate Fighter, and he's I've seen him a dozen times here in New York. We were at his house earlier. And she's like, but who the fuck is he? I'm not going to interview nobody. And I just thought, well, who the fuck are you? Like, that's kind of rude.
Yeah.
And I understand that he's trying to promote himself and she's trying to promote herself. And it turned out well because now, that was the first time I seen her and talked to her, and I've never talked to her since. But that was her attitude then. And so I really don't care for her personally because of that. I know people who've trained with Joseph. I hear he's a nice guy. He kind of gets upset if you submit him. But after that, I've never cared to talk to her. And of course I could say mean things about her that I'm sure I've said to you in private, and I won't say now, but if you ever bump into Mazdak in person, you can ask him things I've said about people. So that sucks that happened to her, but again, yeah, welcome to the real world, man.
Yeah.
I'm a public figure. I write for you, and I'm in movies and all that stuff, and you can
People wrote shit about you in the beginning.
Yeah, people still write shit about me now. And I love it.
They were like, who the fuck is Derek? Let him write in Swedish. I'm like, he's American.
Oh, no, I've had better. When one of the things we had in YouTube, in the American comments, your brother sent it to me. It was great. Yeah. Because someone wrote, I would rather light myself on fire and burn to death than ever hear that faggot talk again. I just laughed my ass off. If I could affect someone's day that much, I thought, I'm doing something. And it's always funny to me when I bump into people, when I see someone I'm from Michigan. I'm very small. I'm from very, very small town in Michigan. And you'll run into someone and be like, man, that guy down the street, he's talking shit, dude. I'm going to go over there and kick his ass. I'm like, a guy down the street is talking shit? I've had people in Sweden, brother. I've never even fucking been to Sweden. I've had people in Sweden say they're going to fucking kill me. I was in Germany and someone called me a faggot. Dude, I live in the New York City area. If I don't get called a faggot at least 10 times, I'm not even gay. If I don't get called a faggot 10 times in 1 week, I'm doing something wrong. I've had death threats in 5 countries. Don't tell me some guy named Bill who has a fucking limp when he walks said something bad about you and you're going to go beat him up. What's wrong with you? And then, of course, that makes me look like I'm an asshole because I'm, telling them how small time they are. But, whatever. Be a power lifter. Whatever, dude. Speaking of which, Mazdak always thinks that I'm a sissy. Everyone always thinks I'm a sissy, even though, I guess I'm not. We went to his friend's gym today.
Capital Gym.
Went to Capital Gym, and a Swedish fighter was there.
Fight Capital.
Fight Capital.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, Fight Capital.
Skipper Kelp.
And he was hitting the bag, and
no, Andreas Spang was hitting the bag.
Oh,
the owner is Skipper Kelp.
Oh, Well, Andreas was hitting the bag, and he's got a fight in 2 weeks. He's a bigger guy than me. I'm like 155, 160. He's a big guy. And he was hitting the bag, and he was trying to get a good workout in. But a bag is a strange workout because, yes, you can control the tempo, but at the same time, that means it's hard for you to pick it up. You know, you have to really be mentally focused to get a great workout on a bag. So he's got a couple fights. He's got a fight coming up, so I asked if I could take off my shoes and socks and roll up my pant legs and hold pads for him. And I did 5 or so rounds with him. I made one big mistake. I let him get a kick through because I just kind of started thinking about how much I like peanut butter while he was kicking at me. And it went through and swatted me in the elbow and the ribs, and I got a little bloody. But, you know, it was a great day for Mazdak to see that because he always thinks he's traveling with a guy that just lets other people call him names. And,
American whiz.
yeah, and I got to get in the ring and be like, no, I can. And he said, how many can we go? I was like, I can do this all day. You know, whatever you need. I'm here to help you train. I can be a punching bag.
Yeah, you did good. I think he got surprised.
I think so too because I shaved and I had my hair combed well today. So I think he thought, well, this dude is not gonna be well. I'm surprised he said yes. You know, but I think the fact that I knew his jiu-jitsu...
I think he said yes because of 4 other dudes were sitting around and...
yeah, no one's helping him.
Yeah.
It's so strange. He takes time out of his day. Yeah, he takes time out of his day to train for a fight. He could have stayed home and hit a heavy bag in his garage and done push-ups. He came into the gym to train for the fight, and then there's like 5 dudes just not doing anything. So, of course, I'm going to step in. And I was happy because I knew his Jonatas, who's their jiu-jitsu coach. He's their new jiu-jitsu coach. I met him years and years ago in the Chicago jiu-jitsu circuit, you know, because I was in jiu-jitsu for a while, and I know a bunch of people from that world. So I was one name drop away from being like, oh, how do you know? Oh, we know this guy. And then me and him became friends. So I think he thought, oh, he must be in somewhat good shape because he knows this guy and can tell you he trained with this guy and all that stuff. But I'm not a fighter. I'm just, you know, a marathon runner. It's way easier than fighting running a marathon. You just kind of run for a long time and eventually it's over. So Joseph Benavidez. Sorry, yeah. We're gonna try to keep this short, but it's the first effort of trying to get a podcast. So maybe people checked out it already, maybe they haven't. But if you haven't, I think the easy money. First of all, they're very small. I didn't think they'd be that small.
Really small.
They're really small.
They are shorter than Bobby, and
yeah.
Bobby's short.
I'm small. They're really small, and it's strange to see them because I don't have that thing in me that goes, oh, this dude's smaller than me. I bet I could take... No, they could both kick the shit out of me. And pretty much most of the people I know. It's just almost impossible to see how Joseph loses. No offense. The other guys, you know, John's... Yeah, Jon's a great fighter. He's number 5. I just think Joseph has a better team. Joseph has better opportunity. I just think it sucks because... nobody is going to beat Demetrius Johnson. It's weird because now the champions that we have, you're not going to beat them. I don't see anybody beating Cain Velasquez. I didn't see anybody really I thought Daniel Cormier would beat Jon Jones, but it used to be belts changed hands a lot, you know. People defend it once or twice or 3 times. Now you got dudes holding on to belts for years, and I don't see anybody beating Demetrius Johnson, so it sucks to be Joseph because he's already lost to him twice, and I don't see him beating him. So he's just gonna. It's not like he's a gatekeeper because I think a gatekeeper is like the number 10 guy, the number 9 guy. He's the number 2 guy. God damn it, he just can't beat the number 1 guy, the champ. So, but I also don't see him losing this. I just don't think. I think they just needed. You need to keep him active. You got 500 fighters on your roster. You got to keep him active. He's a great fighter.
I felt sorry for both of them at the media day yesterday.
Why?
There was no lot of tension.
It is always weird. Media days are always weird because there's like 8 fighters in a room, and they all kind of sit across from each other. So you can constantly look at how popular you are because someone's talking to you or someone's not. So you see people line up to go talk to Conor McGregor. You see a line of people, 15 people waiting in line for Conor McGregor or Chris Weidman or someone like that. And then you see, John Moraga just kind of hanging out, checking his cell phone, updating his Facebook status. It's always kind of
and
weird.
they put him at the end of the...
Yeah, which is even worse because the
Yeah.
end is usually where the fans are.
Yeah.
So, but I guess it's good because they can get up and interact with fans, and that's a huge thing. When we go to media days like that, we definitely know that we go to the fighters that we believe people are interested in first, and then we go to the fighters that we're interested in, and then we collect who's left. But it sucks because it's an hour long. Sometimes you wait in line for 10 minutes or 20 minutes for one person. Even though there's 8 people there, we can only get to 3, 4.
Yeah.
Unless we went to all the people who are in no line at all. And then we can get you guys 6 interviews of undercard guys. But I don't see how Joseph can lose the fight. I think his wrestling is outrageous. His pressure is outrageous. And I don't think both waters are yours, champ.
Could you talk about my boxer?
You got American flag boxer? I think that there's the best chances for John to catch him in a submission. That's it. That's his best bet. It's gonna be 2 dudes flying around the cage, but I don't see John catching him in a submission. If he does, I guarantee it's gonna be something like an armbar. If he catches him, it's going to be an armbar or a guillotine or nothing. Because he's not going to be able to get to his back. He's not going to be able to arm triangle him. He's not going to be able to knee bar him. It'll be something where Joseph is trying to punch down, he gets caught, or it'll be something like a really sloppy shot or a transition, and John can catch him. Besides that,
So
no.
where do you put your MMAnytt salary?
On that, Joseph, all day long.
Everything?
Oh, yeah, I'd put it all on Joseph.
All $2?
Yeah, I would put both. I mean, when you tell people you're paying me $2, tell them you're doing it in like Japanese yen or Mexican pesos, because those numbers are just clearly larger. It's like 200 Japanese yen, and like, I don't know, you can buy a condo, $2 in Mexico. So what do you think of Travis Brown and Andrei Arlovski, who is somehow number 8? That is how little, how small the heavyweight rankings are. Arlovski is number 8.
Yeah.
Hasn't fought in a while.
You said something to me about Arlovski. I don't know if is that public?
Yeah, it's a private conversation between me and someone, but he's not here. I was in Chicago, and Arlovski was training in Chicago, and I wasn't there, so this can't be, concrete. It's not the Bible, which is also not exactly concrete. But the guy who I know, who I was working with on a movie, he knows Arlovski. He's from Estonia, and I guess somehow that makes him friends with someone who's from Belarus. I don't know, man, other countries. So he was talking to Arlovski, and Arlovski was just like, I can physically still do it, but I don't care to. I don't, my mind, he's like, I used to wake up every day, and I think they were drinking, like they're doing shots at this point. And that's how you know a fighter just does it, just doing shots and talking about fighting. Arlovski was like, I can physically still do it, yeah. My body hasn't been broken down that much. He's like, but I used to get up, and every day I'd go run. I'd wake up early and I'd go running, and I wanted to fight. I daydreamed about it. Every time I hit, it was a constant. He's like, and now I just don't care. So it's weird because all of a sudden he does care. So I don't know if he read a self-help book. I don't know if he watched Rocky for the first time when he fights Ivan Drago, which I think is number 3, and it's also my favorite Rocky movie.
But do you think that's a good mentality to go in and fight against Travis Brown, who don't give a fuck?
It's not a good idea to fight against him when you're just in there for the paycheck. It's a horrible idea. But it's a great idea if he's come to this place where he just wants to enjoy what he's doing. Cowboy does that. Cowboy just loves to fight. And that's that. He doesn't get caught up in the other stuff. He just loves to fight. So maybe Arlovsky has found a place mentally where he just loves that this is his job and he wants to have as much fun as possible. And that's great because that means he's going to be super duper relaxed and super duper, you watch really good fighters and they're not tense. They're very relaxed. And
So what do you think?
well, I mean, I think Travis Brown wins because, well, Arlovsky will outbox him and that can be cool. But Travis Brown will move at different angles than Arlovsky. Arlovsky will come forward. And it's not that that's all he can do, but he's a good boxer, and he can set up things very well. But Travis Brown can utilize his body and his range and his youth and athleticism against Arlovsky. And, I mean, while Arlovsky has been in, he did knock out Tim Sylvia right away. He did have a good fight with Fedor. He is also the guy who fought Tim Sylvia that other time, and they just circled each other for 25 minutes. So mentally, that's kind of where he is. He's a weird dude because he's so physically capable, but he doesn't really capitalize all the time. So Travis Brown will try to capitalize constantly. He will try to win the fight. And Arlovsky he'll keep him at bay with jabs and stuff, but I think eventually.
So you put
Travis
your
Brown.
money on Travis Brown too?
Yeah, the weird thing about Travis Brown is I like him. I think I talked to him yesterday. He's a super sweet guy. He's a super nice guy. He's very smart. It's kind of, I just don't know what he's really good at. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Anderson Silva knocks people out. Cain
Doesn't
Velasquez.
doesn't he train with Jackson?
I know he was. I don't know if he is now. But like you think of Cain Velasquez, you think that is a pressure cooker. Like he is going to just punch you and swarm you and drag you to the ground and beat you. You think of Junior Dos Santos, you think of boxing. You think of Stipe.
Miocic.
I know someone who's friends with him. I can't say his name though. But you think of him like Cain Velasquez, but not as good. But he's there. He's getting there. He's really getting there. But then you think of Travis Brown, you're like, well, I don't really know. What are you good at, bro? You're a great fighter. And it's same with Chris Weidman. People don't realize like how good he is because they don't really know what he does.
They can't put him in.
Yeah, you can't put him in a box.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's really good at everything.
Yeah.
You just don't know how good because, I mean, he's that good. So I see Travis Brown.
Why do
winning.
we always have to put people in?
Because
boxes?
when we were kids, man, the square peg went in the square and the circle peg went in the circle, and the ones that didn't were because you were a stupid kid. You just couldn't figure it out. And it's easier for the human brain to associate things if you can label them, And that I was working on a movie that I hope nobody on earth ever sees. It's that bad, and I hated it because the guy he's bisexual, but the guy. We were talking about the movie, and I said, "Yeah, well, this person, it's gay, and this I love this person. It's a very straight approach, though, very like masculine." And he says, "I don't like labels," and I hate any time people say they don't like labels, because anytime I hear people say, "Oh, I don't like labels. I don't like the," fine, go grocery shopping, take all the labels off the goddamn cans, and then buy your dinner. Because you don't know if you're going to end up with olives in that can or tomato stew or what. Goddamn, I love labels. I love being able to know what something is when I buy it. And I hate people who make that stupid argument. Don't hold grudges because of people being different, but labels are stupid. Why do people put? Because it makes it easier to identify things, and that's an important thing when you're trying to identify things. So, what do you think? Do you think Brown or Arlovsky?
I think it's a good fight. A lot of action, and I hope Travis, because of his broken nose.
They both have broken noses.
But Travis' nose is under his left eye. It's not where it's supposed to be. If they, what do you call it? If they do anything for the division? No.
No. It's a weird thing.
Fun to watch at? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because it's a weird thing to watch guys fight just for the sake of fighting, because all fighters, by and large, I'm going to say 60% of the fighters are fighting because they want to be the champion.
Yeah.
The other 40% want fame, money, women, people to think they're tough, people to look up to them. Whether that's for the right reasons or wrong reasons, that's up to you to decide. If someone wants to be a fighter because they get vagina and they get fame, or because they feel confident and they have good abs, who gives a shit what their reason for fighting is? As long as they don't break in the middle of the fight, they don't get hurt, and they don't purposely hurt anybody. But it's a weird thing when you see the number 3 guy who you realize, well, you're never going to be champion, and all you can really do is kind of beat on the number 3 through 10 guy until eventually timing and sloppiness catch up with you, and you lose to like some guy named Bill who is just fighting, and he springboards his career. So it's a weird thing to watch 2 really exciting fighters, but you don't know for sure if they'll ever be that good. But then again, maybe Travis Brown is. He hasn't been fighting that long. Cain Velasquez has been wrestling since he was, trying to cross the border, which I think he was born here, by the way, so I can't say that. But he has the brown pride tattoo. He deserves that. But he's been wrestling since he was like 1. So of course he's a good wrestler. Travis Brown was playing goddamn game of pickup hoops like 4 years ago, and now he's a fighter, so he could develop. And he moves well. He moves very natural and fluid. You watch other guys, you watch other heavyweights, they don't move. You watch other fighters, you can tell who's good, who's done this for a long time. I think Joe Rogan touched on it with Brendan Schaub, where he says you watch other guys move and it's fluid, and then you watch other guys move and it's kind of mechanic. Like they haven't figured out how to string things together, how to use their bodies effectively, how to cut corners and distance, things that make champions and other fighters other fighters. So it's weird to watch this fight. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be weird to watch. People always forget Arlovsky started as like a Sambo black belt champion of the world, so maybe he just drops for an ankle lock and boom, that'd be different.
Yeah. Next fight.
Donald Cerrone and Jon Jones from Canada.
Go for it.
I'll let you start. Go ahead. You're the man in this one.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I was the only guy who ate brownies and Oreos.
Well, we're fresh out of brownies. So.
It's your fault.
Well,
I don't know what to say.
No?
No.
I've talked nonstop, and you can't.
Yeah, I know. I'm a good listener.
Okay.
I gotta be honest. I don't know anything about Jon Jones.
I don't think anybody does.
Except
He's fighting tomorrow.
Yeah, and his involvement in Fear the Fighter sponsor deal.
What's that? I don't know.
Thing with Musashi and.
With Gegard Mousasi?
Yeah.
Who speaks like 12 languages, by the way?
Yeah.
What is he, by the way? Is he Armenian? What is he?
I think
is he Moroccan?
No, Persian.
He's Persian?
Yeah.
He speaks like 8 languages.
He does?
Yeah, he
Good
speaks
for him.
multiple languages. He used to train with Fedor. He's a really...
Yeah,
he's got the worst name ever.
I was in
Dreamcatcher.
Amsterdam with Fedor and Musashi and
Yeah, he's such an
filmed both of them.
Such an interesting dude. You just want to tell him to stop training only with your brother in some gym in your basement, and maybe people will know you better. But he's a great fighter. He's super intelligent.
Yes, I don't know McDessie, and I know Donald because he wears a cowboy hat.
And he fights every other weekend.
Yeah, fuck. He likes to fight, but
Well, do you? Think
I haven't seen him progress.
Oh, you gotta be. No, you have to think he has. You got to remember the first time he fought Benson Henderson, he was only pulling guard and working for submissions from his back. That was all he was doing. And he was doing good. And then you watch their next fight. Now they're standing up. And you watch their third fight, in which I kind of thought he lost the decision, but Sherdog loves him. They went with it. Everybody else went with it.
But if you think he evolved, then people around him evolved even faster.
He's a weird evolve. He's a weird backwards forward. I think he's really putting things together because he started as a kickboxer, and then he went into jiu-jitsu. So it's almost like the things he's starting to get good at, he just kind of abandons everything else that he was kind of good at. So he started as a really good kickboxer, and then he was, I love jiu-jitsu, I love grappling. And that was all he was really trying to do. And then I love kickboxing, So now, and it's weird because he, at any given day, could mix everything together.
Yeah.
And he is a wealth of knowledge and experience and ability.
He's definitely fun to look at. I like his way of fighting.
Yeah. He's like Clint Eastwood.
He's interesting.
Yeah. Because he fights.
Yeah.
He is a fighter.
He delivers.
Yeah. I think
in Swedish we say, han levererar. He delivers.
Well, I think we talked to him yesterday, and it's just his personality. I think if he were a bull rider or a go-kart racer or a chess player, he would still be so determined to win. And I think people love him because he legitimately, I will fight you. I will fight you. That's that. If I gotta go up in weight, if I gotta drive in an RV 2,000 miles, I'll fight you tomorrow. And you haven't seen that since.
Do you know how old
Chuck
he is?
Liddell. How old is he?
No, I'm asking.
Well, he's a hard person to tell the age of because he lives in the desert and his white
You
guy.
think he's under 30 or over?
Oh, he's over 30. He's older than me.
You're 55, right?
Yeah. But I don't see John winning that. The only thing that's weird about Cowboy is would he be further along up the ranks if he didn't fight as often as he does?
He wasn't supposed to fight John McDessie, right? He was supposed to fight White Magadegov.
Yeah. The wrestler guy.
Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong.
I guarantee you did. It's fine. Yeah, he was supposed to fight him, but that guy gets injured a lot, actually. Him and Anthony Pettis, man, they just every day. So
we saw his wig going around the media day.
But Donald's a tough guy. I don't see him losing.
29.
He's 29?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What year was he born?
No, 32.
He was born in 83?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he is younger than you.
No, he's the same age as me. I'm 32. Wow. Well, yeah, I don't see. It's a bad. Thank goodness for John for taking it, but yes, I think Don's gonna pick him apart with leg kicks. You watched him yesterday; he was working on tons and tons of kicks. So John's probably gonna try to push forward. But you get kicked in the legs enough times, your will to move forward kind of dissipates to nothing. So, and now you have Chris Weidman versus Vitor Belfort.
Come and look at this picture.
Of what?
What do you see on Vitor's shorts?
Let me get up and look.
Name of his gardener.
Jesus.
Jesus.
I love you, Jesus.
And look how big he is.
Yeah.
And he is supposed to be...
That was the first thing I told you today. That was the first thing I told you today when I seen him with his shirt off on the scale. I said, dude, his body has aged 20 years and 2 years. I mean, you look at the photo, even go to UFC's website right now and look at the photo of him standing across from Chris Weidman. He's ripped. Dude, he's got a 22-year-old dude's body, 22-year-old Olympian's body. You see him today, and he doesn't look that way. He looked... So now, getting towards the end of the podcast thing and the card, we have Chris Weidman, as the Germans would say, or Chris Weidman.
Co-main event.
Co-main event, which is strange because
Yeah.
he is the champion. But I guess
I saw people go after the weigh-in after his fight.
Oh, I mean, it made sense when Jon Jones was fighting, but you think they would have bumped it up to the main card when Jones is
And
issue
swapped
happened.
places.
Yeah, because there is a belt. But we were talking the second we seen Vitor Belfort. I remember you were sitting in front of me at the weigh-ins, and I'd said, like, look at his body, because if you go to UFC's website right now and look at Vitor's body, he's jacked. He's so ripped, and people can say that the steroids didn't affect anything and the testosterone and all that, but at the same time, look at his body in those pictures and look at his body today. His body aged 10 years in the course of like 1 year. It literally boggles my mind. Here's in general, this is my assumption, and not only my assumption, the advice my girlfriend gave me, who just so happens to be a medical doctor. So I think she knows a little bit about the human body. An athlete who is competing in technically one of the most physically competitive and masculine sports, who's a young guy, 30s, 40s, 20s, should be just fine at producing testosterone. Unless something happened earlier in his career where the ability to produce, replicate, to make testosterone in a regular way, unless that was somehow damaged or manipulated, such as in a younger stage in your career doing a bunch of steroids. Because then going forward, it could screw up your ability to produce steroids naturally. So that's the only way it kind of makes sense that he's, needed the testosterone. But even as Chris Weidman said at the weigh-ins, dude is 10 years older than me. He has higher steroids levels than me. How's that? How's that possible? And it's true. It's very true. So the thing that freaks me out the most about Vitor Belfort is the dude didn't throw a kick for he's been fighting for 19 years. He didn't throw a kick for 17 of those years. Ever. Watch any of his fights. And now he's throwing kicks and all of a sudden he's knocking people out. So I guess that's cool. But I do not see, I've said this every single day, I do not see him beating Chris at all. I think the world of Chris Weidman. I think that dude is such a beast and nobody's giving him the credit he deserves. And it's because he's not particularly good at any one thing, but he's so good at everything. And he's new to the sport. But the thing about him is it's invisible. And unless you've wrestled or grappled or been put in the position, the pressure that he brings to a fight will crush you. It will crush the average person. The average human being cannot withstand pressure like that. And he's going to crush whoever he fights because of it. Because the training you have to put in to deal with that is insane. The best example of pressure I've ever seen is if you go watch the Renzo Gracie Frank Shamrock fight. Frank Shamrock is a master martial artist, and he's accidentally kneeing Renzo in the back of the head over and over again. Accidentally? No. Frank Shamrock knows his body perfectly. He knows exactly what he's doing. He can probably do push-ups on his pinkies. But while he's wrestling, once Renzo gets him to the ground and keeps him there, and Frank realizes, I can't get up. I can't do anything. It's getting harder for me to breathe. It's like I'm drowning. All of a sudden, he kind of starts looking for a way out of that fight. And Renzo Gracie's pressure is nowhere near Chris Weidman's pressure. So I just see Chris crushing him mentally, physically. And I think after the first round, you'll see Vitor trying to look for a way out of the fight. He's not going to just lose, but his will to fight will go away. And if it goes to the second round, good luck getting him off that stool. Because Vitor Belfort 5 years ago, Tito Ortiz called him a mental midget because he would break. He would mentally break. And you see fighters want out of fights all the time. I'm not saying Vitor does now. He seems to have his life in order and focus is in order. but I don't see in any way, shape, or form Chris Weidman losing the fight. Oh, Mazdak, you talk for a second. I gotta go get the door. I think our neighbors are knocking again.
Vitor. Yeah, he's. He is huge. He was huge. Now we have guests. Or guest. We could take a break.